Hello, I'm Dr. Russ Schroder. I'm a board-certified chiropractic neurologist and functional neurologist and author of the book, The Mind Method, Rewiring the Brain to Overcome ADHD, Dyslexia, and Other Neurobehavioral Disorders. I'm just going to read to you today two pages from the chapter on dyslexia. We all want our children to do well. We want them to get good grades, stay in school so they can get a good education, and not spend their lives working hard for a little pay. It's what our grandparents and parents did for us, hopefully. Problems arrive when executive areas of the brain don't process information properly, though, especially on the left side of the brain, of the cortex. Over 150 years ago in Europe, there were two neurologists who found two separate and distinct areas of the brain on the left side that are both involved with speech and language. Doctors Paul Broca and Carl Wernicke will be remembered to this day because they both had patients with strokes that survived long enough that they could examine them thoroughly before their ultimate autopsy at death. You'll remember them from Chapter 3 for their named regions on the cortex of the brain. Each one found that the individual they examined for language speech challenges had a big, gaping blood clot in the left hemisphere. Of course, this was in the 1800s, long before MRIs showed us functional weaknesses. Back then, they were lucky to have such obvious examples of pathology, so the world could start to learn that different regions serve different functions. 130 years later, science began to look inside the brain of patients with strokes and tumors without cutting them open, and similar patterns began to emerge. In Sally Shaywitz's book, Overcoming Dyslexia, we learn of her research at Yale, where they took numerous children and adults with developmental reading disorders, aka dyslexia, and put them in PET scanners and fMRI machine scanners with tagged glucose. What they found over and over was weakness on the left side of the brain in areas between Wernicke's area, the parietal occipital temporal junction, and Broca's area of the frontal lobe. She also found that most children with dyslexia have normal and even above average intelligence. They don't have vision problems that cause the reading disorder, but many describe the shapes and symbols made up of letters and words to be reversed or upside down. They find B and D are easily transposed, as are P and Q. Since they are essentially the same shape, just pointing in different directions, a misfiring cortex can't interpret them correctly. Even tractography studies that look at the long tracts or long-range nerve connections show weaknesses on the left side of the brain. In The Woman Who Changed Her Brain, Barbara Arrowsmith Young discusses the learning disability she suffered with until her adult life regarding shapes and words. Through painstaking months of slow, deliberate work, she studied the works of Alexander Luria, a Russian neuroscientist who had the privilege of studying hundreds of Russian soldiers with head injuries, even bullet wounds, in specific regions of the brain. She found the case of a soldier who had her symptoms and actually had a bullet wound in a very specific area of the brain, the left parietal cortex. Through neurological training, she performed exercises that forced her to develop that weakened area in her brain. She went on to form numerous schools in Canada that use brain exercises to help children with reading and learning disorders. American researchers have been utilizing neurofeedback more often for learning deficiencies since the 80s. It's been found that the stuttering also correlates with weakness of the tracts or cortex of the left brain. These children also have the hope of benefiting from rewiring the brain. Our approach has always been to build up the weak areas after a thorough exam. We have also seen weaknesses on the left side of the brain that correlate with some of the functional weaknesses on the right side of the body and brain. Therapies include nutritional strategies to support normal nerve connections, neurological activities like eye exercises, and the interactive metronome. Plus, another go-to is neurointegration, which is neurofeedback with visual entrainment. Again, I'm Dr. Russ Schroder. That's part of our dyslexia chapter in The Mind Method. If you want more information or a report on dyslexia, call our office at 740-588-3339. Again, we're formerly the Mind Institute, now NeuroCare. And just call our office for a free report or just order our book online at Amazon.com, The Mind Method. Thank you very much.